In the news at 10 in Moscow, where a community is mourning the loss of 4 students. Today, we heard for the first time in person from the Moscow Police Department,
whose chief said they still don't have a suspect, a description of a suspect, nor do they have a murder weapon. And for 3 days, Moscow police have said they do not believe there is an ongoing threat to the community.
Yeah, that's right. And this just into our newsroom a couple minutes ago. The Spokane County Medical Examiner in Washington told me they finished autopsies for the 4 University of Idaho stabbing victims. They sent those findings to the Latah County coroner in Idaho, where Moscow is. The police chief there said earlier in a press conference, this will help gather evidence, solve this crime, and also, as he alluded to, help determine if the same weapon was used, the same knife was used on all of those victims.
Yeah, that way, if the DNA is mixed up on either of the victims, they'll know that, yes, that's kind of where they're going with that decision. Okay, let's go back to that part about whether or not the community is still in danger, kind of something that they kind of backtracked a little bit today in that press conference. Abby Davis is live in Moscow right now. And Abby, they don't seem to be standing behind that statement about no threat to the community anymore.
That's right, Brian and Morgan. Moscow Police Chief James Fry really walked that statement right back. He said that he cannot say there is no threat to the community. Those were his exact words. That's how he phrased it. And he reminded the community to stay vigilant, be safe as everyone tries to make sense of this devastating attack. 4 bright lights.
Their loss has been devastating.
Dimmed too soon.
We will support each other as we grieve, and we'll move through this together as a Vandal family.
This horrible crime has affected all of us, the families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers.
In their first press conference since the attack, Moscow Police Chief James Fry said Wednesday the 4 University of Idaho students murdered over the weekend were stabbed with a knife. But Fry says they have not found the weapon or the person responsible for the deaths of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez.
We still believe it's a targeted attack, but the reality is there's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible, horrible crimes. I will tell you, we are looking at everyone. Every tip we get, every lead we get, there's no one that we're not going to talk to. There's no one we're not going to interview. There's no one that we're not going to look into.
Although the police chief and other law enforcement officials took questions about the murders, many of those questions were left unanswered.
We know you have questions, and so do we.
Many people who live in Moscow are frustrated by the lack of or seemingly conflicting information out of police. Fry addressed that during the news conference.
I probably should have been standing here a day or so ago.
Fry said they are still putting together a timeline of what happened.
We have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45.
What we know is officers responded to a 911 call about an unconscious person Sunday at noon. When they got to the house on Queen Road near U of I's campus, they found the 4 students dead.
There was no sign of forced entry into the residence.
Fry also said today 2 roommates were home when it happened. He didn't go so far as to call them witnesses and says they were not hurt. The murders happened very early Sunday morning, and the chief didn't say why it took so long for someone to call 911. He said investigators are still collecting evidence.
Our goal is to provide safety for this community. That's why we're bringing in the resources we're bringing. We want a close to this, and we want to do everything we can to let the people in our community know that we care. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be safe. And we're going to do everything we can to do that.
Now, our crews covering this story for the past few days have talked to several students. They say they're not feeling very safe knowing a suspect is still out there. Now, police are also asking the community for any help, anybody who knows anything, to call their tip line. I'll read that number to you right now. It's 208-883-7180, 208-883-7180. It should also be on your screen right now. Brian and Morgan.
I know you just got up there this evening, Abby, so thank you very much for doing that. It's interesting, you talk about the student population that seems to be dwindling over this week when the president said, please, if you don't feel safe, feel free to go home. We're heading into a holiday break, so I can only imagine what it would be like for the police and the investigators trying to kind of, figure things out with more people leaving town.
Interview people, try to track down anybody who was around the victims that night. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people that I'm hearing from in my personal life, I'm sure yours as well, telling me that it just feels like a ghost town up there and they wanted to get out.
All right, wow, crazy. Well,
A family member of one of the victims shared memories about her sister on social media earlier tonight. Jasmine Kernodle, the older sister of Xana, posted this message on Instagram. She said she was reading some of Xana's writing. There we go. Okay, there it is. She was reading some of Xana's writing recently and came across something that stood out to her.
In a short essay, she wrote about a concert she went to recently, about how it was amazing to experience it with friends while they were all still enjoying life. At the end of that essay, Xana wrote, "That is one of the most important things you can do in life. Enjoy the ride, not the destination." Jasmine went on to thank everyone for all of the love and the support she and her family have received.
A vigil honoring the lives of the 4 murdered students was held at Coeur d'Alene earlier tonight. Friends, family, and members of the community gathered at Independence Point for a candlelight vigil and to remember their friends.
Shane Sampson went to school with Xana when she was younger and says he's amazed by the impact these 4 had on their community.
It's pretty crazy how many people were affected. I mean, you go on social media and everyone's sad about it. They have a picture of Xana, they're reposting the candlelight meeting, the flowers in front of the college, and I've texted my friends down there. I've texted my friends that are coming up here for this, and just everyone's really sad.
You don't have to look very far, talk to very many people to feel like somebody knows somebody who is involved or knows somebody up there or even has a student at school at the University of Idaho.
And I think one of the most heartbreaking things is looking through the victim's social media and seeing a picture that was posted of all of them that day. I mean, that just makes it so harrowing, really.
Yep, good group of friends. Another vigil will be held at Boise State University tomorrow. ASBSU, that's the Associated Students of Boise State University, they posted the announcement on social media last night.
It was originally set for today, but was moved to tomorrow. It'll be at 5:30 p.m. at B Plaza, that big B on Boise State's campus, which is on the south side of the administration building near Joyce Street and University Drive. The vigil will include a moment of silence, student speakers, and support counseling services.
Meanwhile, the University of Idaho, they're going to hold a vigil of their own for sure, but they're going to wait until after the holiday break, a way to honor the memory of the victims. They wanted everybody to be back to school, at least most of them, as they come back after the Thanksgiving break. Blaine Eccles, the Dean of Students, sent out an email to students saying the vigil will be scheduled for when those students return after Thanksgiving.
That's the week of November 28th. Eccles also saying this will allow more students to attend since, quote, as we've talked about, a great number of students have already left the Moscow campus. We'll keep you updated, of course, as we learn the new date and time for that.